Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto anime review. This one's going to be for episode 145. This one is called Breaking Out of Hozuki Castle. And yeah, this was a pretty good episode. I actually quite like this one, even though it was mainly more of just setting up the stages of the plan, putting the first bits of the breakout into play. Just kind of building up a lot of where everyone is, what's going down, who is and is not involved. Usually these ones tend to be the weaker ones of the arcs, but this was actually sort of intriguing the entire time. And I think a lot of it worked because you had that really nice character connection between Mitsuki and Kendama, in that we finally learned Kendama's backstory of like, okay, this is why he is the way he is, why he stays out of things, why the other prisoners don't really talk to him. It's because he's viewed as being a, snitch within the prison, but we find out the full story of that actually he was really close friends with this other inmate, and Kendama actually used to be sort of this prisoner that everyone looked up to because he'd always sort of rebel against the guards, and there's always like that hope for a escape one day because of him. And it's like a complete contrast to who he is right now, but they have their plan to escape, and it's reliant on this guy's ability to predict that it's going to rain that night, and Kendama just ends up waiting a little bit too long because it's a little bit delayed in raining, and when he gets down there, it's revealed that Benga has killed his friend, and he's going to blame this on Kendama. Basically, instead of punishing Kendama for, a breakout attempt, he's going to have Kendama looked at as if he was a snitch. He, snitched out his best friend, and so that's why Kendama is the way he is. He feels like, no one kind of likes him because of this, but he also feels like he killed his friend. So that's actually a really good kind of character motivation, and I love the setup throughout this arc of, and at the end of this episode as well, that he is going to do something and it's going to be very important. I thought just at the end of the episode they were going to reveal that he actually did go to help Sarada, and that the light switch will go on and off, and like the plan will be going ahead. But I'm guessing they're just building up a little bit more, that they're going to have to have an extra little layer on top of things, that when I suppose Boruto and co go to execute the plan, I'm guessing Kendama's going to come with them, and he'll be sort of essential along the way in doing what needs to happen. The big thing though is that like now a lot of characters have issues with Benga. Benga for sure is going down in this arc, and I think they've, especially in the last few episodes, done a very good job at actually building him up as like a very hateable character. So you want to see Sarada, Benga, Boruto, Mitsuki, all these characters just absolutely take this guy out. I don't know if he'll be killed or anything like that, but you want to see him just get KO'd completely after what happened here, of course. We had a really big like animation moment in this episode where like the animation goes from like 0 to 60 in like just no time at all. It was actually really odd to just go from like, okay, it's just a pretty standard scene, Sarada confronting Benga, and then Sarada, just the way she starts like pointing at him, her hands like moving all over the place, and you're like, this is interesting in terms of how much animation they're doing here. But then it is revealed like, oh, Benga's using some jutsu here, a little bit of an action sequence. It's not a full fight, it's just Sarada gets sort of surprised by the fuel line exploding, and that's what kind of gets her knocked out and knocked down that pit. So that was cool, just to reveal that, okay, Benga uses fire style, he does have jutsu and stuff like that. I don't think we'd actually seen him use it before this episode, so that actually makes him somewhat of a threat. But ultimately, if anyone is able to confront him one-on-one, you have to assume he's going to be able to be taken out without too much problem, but maybe he'll surprise us in terms of how strong he is. So yeah, it meant that Mitsuki actually had a pretty nice role in this episode, of just him revealing a little bit of his own kind of like history of like he did like an infiltration mission and so on and stuff like that. I think that was a reference to the Mitsuki arc we had like it wasn't like that long ago, but like the whole arc that happened there where Boruto really had to put himself on the line for Mitsuki. I think that is the arc they were referencing, and stuff like that with Onoki and his sort of created kind of clones. The specifics kind of have completely gone out of my mind at this point, but I think that's roughly what they were getting at there, kind of. But just that idea of, the connection in a way between Kendama and Mitsuki. In addition to like the snakes actually being used a good bit in this episode, like the plan is very reliant on this idea of like filling up the water tanks to make it happen. Again, that's maybe where they kind of lose you just a little bit, and that like, okay, like just because it takes so long for the plan to actually begin to get going, I'm kind of not exactly sure what we're trying to do here necessarily. So I'm definitely waiting just for next week to just see what exactly the plan is. They got across this idea that like Boruto trusts people and it never wavers. That was a big point that Mitsuki made to Kendama, and now we're seeing that at the end, that even though Sarada isn't there to give the signal, Boruto is trusting that she's actually executed her stage of the plan and they're going ahead with it, trusting that it will be done. So this is going to be, I suppose, a big thing for Kendama to just see that there is still that sort of level of trust and kind of dedication in this world. And who knows, there might be some nice kind of moments for him. It's similarly, like, just as the arc comes to an end, I'm wondering, like, what are they going to do with a lot of these characters here that we had, the cellmates? How much focus are they going to get? Because of course we still have to introduce reintroduce, I suppose, the second in command of the Mujina gang and stuff like that. We still have to actually acknowledge that, wait, we're in here to learn who the head of the Mujina gang is. So that's like a key point in the arc. And then actually move into the sort of manga content of the arc. So that's the thing here, is that this is actually just sort of like stage 1 of the Mujina Bandit arc, and the stage 2 is actually the stuff that's covered in the manga. So, there's still stuff to look forward to. It's just that like we have to get through this first. I believe there's still like 1 or 2 episodes left in prison before we see what exactly we're doing next. Are we going like straight into those chapters, or are they extending out the arc? We'll see what happens. Anything else here? Yeah, not really. They had the sort of, the head prisoner guy that they went to before be a little bit more involved here, but again, it was just showing that Benga has like a deal with him where like, the guy comes across as if he's like a guy you can trust in prison, but actually he's like deeply sort of ingrained with like Benga and so on. So that was somewhat interesting. You set up a few sort of prison like fight dynamics as we go into the breakout. We'll see what happens, but I think the main thing is just everyone wants to just see Benga get wrecked at some point after everything he's done. So the other thing is like especially like Mujo, like he seemed to have like a heart attack. Like, is he just gonna come back in? Are we okay with leaving a guy who's like got serious health problems in charge of the prison? Again, my continued confusion about like why they haven't done anything with the Kakashi novel in terms of bringing it into play, and like where's she gone? Where's the previous warden gone? Like why can't we have her back? Why don't they animate the Kakashi novel? Like, that's one of the better ones. Like, do that. Animate the Sakura novel. I think those are 2 perfect opportunities to do stuff with. So yeah, that's been the review for episode 145. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were, but that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.